That's just.
I'm gonna keep it. Yeah, I did that last time.
But yes, we are live. We already have 5 people on, so I think we're going to go ahead and start. So, hello, ladies and gentlemen of Vanderbilt and the entire YouTube world, and welcome to Terrier Talk Season 2, Episode 30. There's lots to talk about that isn't exactly sports related, but before we get to that, we have an interview with 3 lovely ladies from the softball team, Lily Mazer. Wow, I'm sorry. But Alexis and Lexi. Alexis, oh God, I'm so sorry. Alexis Porsche, yes. Lexi Lirette, right?
Yeah.
I am so sorry. That's what happens when we're live. But sophomore softball players playing first base, third base, and left field, and they've had a pretty successful season so far, but a great game last week against Thibodeau. Before we talk about that, the season, like the ride you took to get to this point in the season, where we'll talk about the future, but this point in the season was an interesting one. Kind of tell me about that, how that happened.
Okay, so at the beginning of the season, we were like, 5-0? Yeah. We were 5-0, and for the first time, we won like 3 straight games in a tournament.
Did you end up winning the tournament, or is
it was just like you just play?
Like,
okay.
I don't think
it wasn't for like a championship.
There's no like double elimination, single
right?
elimination.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's just 3 games just to play games.
Like
okay, that's something that's kind of interesting because most other like basketball, for example, I've gone to some basketball tournaments before. There usually is a crowned winner. I guess that's not the case as much like with baseball and softball, where it's just, especially
just
early
play.
season, right? You just play to go play games. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the out of district season for baseball and softball in a lot of ways. Okay, that's interesting, but still a lot of success.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then from there, it kind of didn't have as much success.
Yeah.
I know you went to a tournament I think last week and didn't have how much success, although it was a much tougher schedule.
Yes.
So you were 6-6 playing Thibodeau. What was Thibodeau's record going into the game this week? It was okay. Well, anyway, I know it was not as I read something that's like not as good as how they played during the game. So my guess is they're around 500-ish as well. Just anyway, playing Thibodeau, a decent team as well, but a big game for both of you, trying to stay above 500 or get back to above 500 for you guys. And the game lived up to any expectation, completely exceeded them from an entertainment perspective and of course, how it happened. So I'll set the scene a little bit before I ask you. So it was, you guys were down 5-4, down 4-1 earlier in the game. Get to the bottom of the 7th inning, 2 outs, single, 2 runners. Were they both in scoring position, or was it
third and second? Yeah.
Third and second. So I guess they must have stolen or something like that, or was there?
I think I don't know. Anyway, pass ball.
Okay. Yeah. Well, 2 runners in scoring position with 2 outs. You, Lily Mazer, are on at bats, and as great of a story and clutch moment as that can be, down 1 with 2 outs, there was more to it before that. So tell me about like how you got to that point. I guess.
So on Sunday, I hurt my back at a soccer game, so I'm at elbow knee in the back. Mm-hmm. And so figure on Monday, I was hurt. We didn't have practice on Monday because they thought that we should have.
It was exam week too.
Yeah, it was exam week, so we didn't have practice. That was after we had a tournament, right? Mm-hmm. So we had won the 3 tournament games. Right. We did great. They were like, all right, you have Monday off. So I come Tuesday, and my back is killing me. Played first inning, bat first inning. I think I ground out somewhere. And, running to first base, I was like, coach, I can't do it. And so I was like, just got out of the game, fire freeze, Brett helped me out. And then, into the game, runners, I'm up to bat. And so Francis Boudreaux went in for me. And Coach Ricky was like, if you're okay, I'm going to have you bat. And I was like, okay, I'll bat. And sure enough, first pitch just hit to center field.
Yeah, it was so clutch.
So right in the center field, goes in. It's the definition of clutch. There is no bigger moment for a batter in a game. 2 outs, 2 runners in scoring position, a hit wins the game, or most hits win the game. It was a single, but still got both in. Was it a close throw to home plate or no? Oh, okay.
No, it was a stand up. They both stood up.
It's like
wow.
Just clean gap shot to the fence.
Was there any reason you didn't run to second or?
No, my back hurt. Like I barely made it to first base.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just trying to be safe.
That makes a lot of sense because I remember I saw it's like 2 RBI singles. That doesn't happen very often, but with the injury, that makes a lot more sense. But I guess was the back hurting your batting at all, or yeah? So
She still did good though.
But I mean, yeah. So one pitch at bat. That's something I'll remember for a long time. I assume you guys.
I went up and I was like, just hit the ball. That's all I wanted to do is hit the ball. And
I was after you too.
Yeah.
I was on deck.
Right.
I think we had 2 outs too.
Yes, it was two outs with the runners with the bases empty. Even.
Right. Yeah.
And then I don't remember who the 2 batters were beforehand. They got the same.
Yeah.
And Taylor.
Okay, but both, those 2 were just as clutch, just as important as the first, as your at bat.
Mm-hmm.
But he comes up. Probably the most dynamic at bat, unless you have a walk, then you're, of course, we're maybe talking a different story about a different person. But biggest at bat of the game, and you come in clutch, even playing hurt. So that's, I guess, more than anything else, congratulations. Great at bat, great play, and a great game. And a big win for you guys. I would say it's a big win for momentum for going into the rest of the season. But the rest of the season, of course, hangs in the balance of the rather deadly coronavirus. So, and I'll talk about this more extensively later on, but the big thing for you guys specifically that I want to ask is obviously the softball season, as with all the extracurriculars, are suspended, basically. Can't have any games, can't have anything with more than 250 people until like April 13th. And my guess is that's right around like the beginning of postseason. Theoretically, that'd be where it would be.
Close to playoffs.
Right. I know for track that would be 2 days before Parish, the very beginning of postseason for us, and during Easter break too, but not the point. So how are you guys handling that? Like, are you still doing practices? How are you handling the lack of softball and trying to still be prepared for what might come afterwards?
I know that our pitchers and catchers are still like pitching and catching.
But like as a team, we can't practice
Right.
together. So it's kind of just like do like BP on your own time type thing. Just like stay in and like
Right.
hoping that the season will like come back.
I know you were talking about it before, going to specific batting practices, things like that. And I know it's difficult, again, comparing it to track. I'm obviously not a part of the softball team, but a part of the track team, so I see how we're handling it. It's just try to stay in shape, try to stay in meet shape, or in game shape, of course, for you guys for whatever important games might come afterwards. It's a little bit harder to figure out for softball than it is for track. Track, the regular season's kind of independent to the to district and all those. It just happens. For softball, all that matters. Every regular season game matters. So whatever happens for postseason, whether it's taking your records now, whether it's just a planned tournament, I don't know. But it's definitely going to be important to stay in shape for those games, whatever may come ahead. So I wish you guys the best of luck. And I hope you have a great season, whatever that may end up happening. So thank you.
Thank you.
No handshakes for obvious reasons, but thank you.
Thank you.
Reorganize this a little bit.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so again, a lot to talk about this week that is not sports related, but one last time before we get to that, I want to talk about the other event that happened this week. That was the boys' baseball game versus Plaquemine. This game was very interesting. The episode started. So this game was very interesting. We ended up winning the game 5-1, but maybe even more impressive than the result was the accolade that we received during the game. 2 pitchers, Owen Schexnayder and Zach Rogier, combined pitching to throw a combined no-hitter, which is an incredibly impressive accolade, I guess is the best word to say. So it's an incredibly impressive achievement to do. It's not easy, and it was a great performance from both of them. Now, they still gave up a run. I think it was off of a walk. I don't know the exact story of how that happened. My guess is something like walk, stolen base, passed ball, or steal, or whatever happened, or an error or something like that. But there were no runs, no hits given up. Even with the one run allowed, we still won the game pretty handily, 5-1. A big win for them. And a few batting notes. Excuse me, I apologize. A few batting notes. Brendan Hamner went 2 for 3 with an RBI during the game, and Caleb Ugle also went 2 for 3. So great game for them. Congratulations to them for that big win. However, just like the girls, they don't really have anywhere to take that momentum from that win to really do much, because there isn't much of a baseball season to happen. And that's the big thing that there is talk about for this week. And that is the effect that coronavirus has, and COVID-19 has, or the same thing, but anyway, the effect that this big virus has on the entire world. I don't want to talk about really all of it, because I think this is a good place to talk about it, because it affects a lot. Obviously, it affects Vanderbilt in every way, shape, and form. So, for, I guess, anyone who does. Anyway, COVID-19 has affected many people. I know we had at least 6 cases at the beginning of the week in Louisiana. Now it's starting to spread more and more. I feel like more and more people, as of like just the last couple of days, that I know, or people, I guess, more 2 degrees of separation, not people I know, but people that I know, like their family members, like a friend of mine's aunt or a friend of mine's, uncle or grandfather, are starting to catch this virus. So it's starting to spread more and more. And the Louisiana government decided to shut down all public school for the next 30 days, the next month, from March 13th to April 13th. All school, extracurricular activities, sports, everything for the next month. And that changes so much. Now, basically, social interaction is almost forbidden in a lot of ways in Louisiana. In like, you saw it just a minute ago, the whole not actually shaking hands, the rubbing elbows, because it's not a good thing to do. The potential spreading of germs, the potential of catching the virus from a potential carrier is too potent to not at least treat as legitimate fear and a legitimate possibility right now. So these effects are huge, and they have obviously you've seen the big headlines where all the sports, NBA canceling their season, MLB postponing spring training, March Madness getting canceled, which was so sad. I know last year I had a special. I wasn't planning to do one this year, but it's obviously a big travesty not to be able to watch that this year. I think the NFL's league year is not starting for this week or something like that. Like they're not starting the new league year yet. But free agency is, I don't know the exact status of that. I don't know how much that the NFL is going to be affected, but nevertheless, MLB, NBA, XFL had to cancel their season. Many things are basically, life as a whole is being put on hold in the United States for this deadly virus. Now, as much as I call it a deadly virus, and it's true. I mean, people have died for it, or not for it, but because of it. But that being said, as much as yes, it is something worth being concerned about and something worth fearing, it is also important to understand the realistic numbers of it. Yes, be wary of it and try to avoid it, but also to understand that people under 50 have a mortality rate of very low numbers, like 0.1, 0.2%. And to understand, yes, it's worth fearing, but I just want to make sure, in especially since I feel like those numbers, and they're just as important as the death toll, just as important as the numbers that people are bringing up of how many people died here, how many confirmed cases here. Those are all really important. But I feel like it's just as important to understand just how potent and just how deadly this virus truly is. And as high as the number is, it's about a 3% mortality rate. Obviously, it's not what you want. Obviously, it's terrible. It's also important to understand that it's not you die. It's not anything like that. That's not how it works. I feel like spreading that's also the truth is very important. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. Nor do I claim to be. It's just something that I felt like was worth bringing out there. I have a situation where people are here, and it's worth talking about. So the big point at least for this, obviously, for Terrier Talk, that's worth talking about. Obviously, it's not more important than the other things, than all the college sports, all the professional sports being canceled, is the fact that the high school sports were also canceled for this entire month. That's basketball, that's softball, and that's track. And that's all the other sports as well. Bowling, tennis, golf, everything is put on hold, all the extracurriculars for the next month. And that puts this show in a very weird place because I would love to come up here and talk about things, talk about sports for the next few weeks. But there isn't going to be anything to talk about. There is no preview section this week. I'm not able to talk about the track meet from last week because the ruling from Louisiana came in just as we were about to leave for the track meet. I literally drove to go to the track meet, to get on the bus for the track meet, and it got canceled. And so there was no track meet on Friday. So there is no track meet to talk about. There is no preview for next week. No track meets, baseball games, softball games, bowling, tennis, golf, anything, because of this virus. And that puts the show in a weird place. So this is my pseudo solution, I guess I'll put it. We haven't had a very live chat this week, but that's not really the point. So in future weeks and in the comment section, and I really do stress that, please bring these up in the comment section. Anything that you want to hear me talk about, anything that's worth discussing, you see, anything sports related or non-sports related that you would be willing to, or that you would want me to bring up, any questions that you have, anything, because there aren't sports to talk about. But I don't really want to cancel the show or postpone the show because there is, this is something that I enjoy doing every Sunday night, and this is something that I feel like is worth keeping up. But there is no exact specific subject matter to talk about. So again, in the comment section, please, anything you want, to discuss or hear me talk about in the comments for next week or for the next few weeks, do it. If I don't really get anything, I'll probably talk about the NFL draft because I've been looking at it a lot, and just kind of build up for my eventual mock draft the week before the draft happens, which I think is not going to be postponed. Maybe, we'll see. But if, please tell me also in the comment section if you'd like to hear that. I want to know what, if anything, you want to talk about. Because this is the sort of thing that, outside of the fact that it's sports related, would be great to keep going over these next few weeks when there aren't other things that are there to entertain. This is maybe there to help fill that void, fill that gap. But because the subject matter's gone, it's harder to do that. It's harder to talk about it. So that's the place where I am. If there's anything you want to hear me discuss, please bring it up in the comment section throughout the next week. If not, I'll probably still do an episode next week. Maybe previewing the draft, maybe not, I don't know. But as of now, I do plan to do Terrier Talk next week. But definitely over the next few weeks, there is going to be a change in how this is going to work. So for anyone who enjoys the show, enjoys doing this, and is willing to stay here for whatever is potentially coming next, please, first off, thank you for staying and watching through this. That this isn't exactly sports related, what I've been talking about for the last 10 minutes or so, or 8 minutes. But thank you for, staying on, and hopefully I can, for the next few weeks, keep going with this, whatever it may lead to. So I hope you enjoyed this week. I know it's a different episode, and the next few weeks will also be different episodes if they continue. But I'll see you next week. I am planning to do it next week. Same time, same channel. I'll see you then.